So I've got Vanessa here today, and we are going to be talking about naming private body parts, which I think is a really interesting topic because I have this very clear memory of my children when they first started talking about their body parts, and I know that everyone has all sorts of names for these things, but I kind of got stopped in my tracks and didn't know how to respond. I thought, is my daughter going to go to daycare and announce that she has a vagina, which you're going to correct me on that in a minute.
That's right.
And how is everyone going to respond? What do I do?
We worry.
I'm excited to hear more about this.
Well, that's part of one of the first sexuality lessons that you'll give your children, aside from the fact that they know that they're born boy or girl, and that's another issue we can talk about another time. But as far as naming body parts, that is so important for their body autonomy and for body safety, and for reducing shame and fear around their body for the future. So normalising it. And we know that people that normalise the names of body parts, in countries where they do it all the time, those children grow up to have really healthy attitudes about their bodies. So the trick is, in the bath, when we're naming nose and ear and eyes and knee, we just say vulva and vagina, penis and scrotum in the same tone of voice, and just as part of the general conversation. People often wonder about nicknames though.
Yes, I know.
Family nicknames.
Yeah, Gully for my little son. Everyone laughs at his Gully. And at one time we did walk in, he was going Gully, 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 and yeah, it was lots of fun. But yeah, what do you do in that situation?
Well, one of the lessons I do with the little children at schools is we name on the board all of their family names for body parts, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah,
and I've learnt a lot. And so we name the body parts of from family names, and we say it's okay to have family names, but we need to know the science names as well. So then we go through the science names, and I say to them, imagine if we went to the doctor and we had a problem with with some part of our body, and we said to the doctor, we've got a problem with our Willy Wonka.
Yeah, Gully in my case.
Or our vajayjay. Do you think the doctor would know what we're talking about? And they roll around laughing, and they understand then why we need to know the science names. And the other important reason for that is that then children have a vocabulary to tell someone when something is not right with their private body parts, especially if someone's touching them. And we know that people who will abuse children will tend to more avoid children who know the actual names of their body parts because they can report accurately, and that's so important. So naming those body parts as just even when you're changing nappies, and that's part of body autonomy as well. Today I'm changing your nappy to keep you healthy and clean. You know, you're not asking consent from a 7-month-old if you can change their nappy. You're changing their nappy. You're telling them why you're touching their private parts. Just wiping your penis to keep you clean and healthy.
Yeah.
Just general conversation. Yeah.
And what about, so my daughter, I remember when she was starting school as well, I mean, she went to a proper school, but you know, she was 3 and had just been toilet trained, so we had accidents and teachers touching and all the rest, and I always found that a bit of a grey area about how you let her know who can and can't touch those, you know, wiping her bottom or whatever it might be.
Perfect lesson in the bath as well. And so while we're at it, those private parts are just for you, and the people who can touch them are, and you name them, and under what circumstances. And it's okay if such and such touches your body part at kinder to clean it up, because I know about it, and you and I know that they're helping to clean it up, so to clean you up. So it's really important to actually specify that. Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, and it's funny, or not funny. It's interesting what you say about saying that, you know, because I know about it, because I'm also big on not having secrets as well from mummy, because I think that comes in around the same age, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right as well. And if anybody does touch your private parts, you need to tell us straight away. So we have happy surprises like the chocolate cake and birthday party, but we don't have bad secrets that give us our early warning signs. If anyone said to you, don't tell mummy about this, or don't tell your carers or mums and mums, dads and dads, then, and it gives you early warning signs, and you tell us straight away. There's nothing you can't tell us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very important.
I find it interesting, so I hope we're all going to go back and educate our little ones, and it's never too late, is it? It's
never too early and never too late. That's exactly right.
So have the fun names, the family names.
Have the family names, and then in the context, and just to pick up on your point about being worried about them going to school and telling everyone the names, a couple of things on that. Yes, they might. But if it's accurate, that's better than them learning the inaccurate things, because I'll tell you, kids are learning from the playground anyway.
Yes.
So if they're going to school and saying accurate names, that's actually okay. The other thing is, you can say to your children, so we've had great conversations and we can talk about anything in our family, but not all families talk about this, and it's not your job to teach the other kids at school. So every year level I teach, I say that it's not your job to teach the younger children this. Whose job is that? That's the adults.
Okay.
So you can put limits on that, but they will learn from the school ground. And the other key thing there for parents to worrying about how much information to give, there's a rule of thumb. Who do you want to be the person who teaches them that topic about sexuality?
Yeah.
Who do you want it to be? Do you want it to be Johnny at school, or do you want it to be you?
Yeah.
If it's you, you need to get in first. So if they've got older cousins and older siblings, then you need to start that bit earlier.
Yeah.
So that's the measure of how much information to give. And by the way, body parts are just normal. There's nothing shameful about them. Adults have these layers of preconceived ideas. It's just body parts.
Okay. And I do have one more thing to ask.
Sure.
So, this is my mother of three hat on, and you're a mother of three too.
That's right.
I have had situations in the bath where the sister's curious about the brothers as well, and vice versa. And I think I've always had the approach of being quite practical and normal and saying, well, that's his body and that's his body part, so that's his penis, and he's allowed to touch his penis. But you know,
well done. Are you quietly freaking out inside when you say all that?
I feel like I've just learnt from you. And maybe if I hadn't met you, then maybe my response might have been a bit different. But
it's a big challenge. Okay, so keeping your positive face on. So the number one thing we need to do is recognise normal childhood childhood behaviour that's expected.
Yeah.
The traffic light model, which you can find on Google and links on my website, the traffic light model tells us all the green, all the behaviour that we should expect. It's normal. Curiosity about bodies is normal. And our response can be positive or negative, and it needs to be positive. So if we're negative and we say, don't do that, don't touch that, we're putting that shame and guilt into the child.
I think something's wrong.
If we're expecting them to be curious about each other's bodies, I remember one mum saying in the parent session, she had two twin boys and they would just pull each other's penises all the time. They thought it was hilarious in the bath. There's nothing she could do about it. They just loved it. And it was within the normal limits. It goes outside limits when it's something that they're obsessed about and they keep going back to doing that.
Yeah.
Or if they're using force or coercion or adult things. And the traffic light model tells us about where the danger zones are. Perfectly normal behaviour.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? So you can use a book as a prop to show pictures of other bodies. Again, adding in, there's always teachable moments about who can touch and who can't.
Yes.
They're just for you. I know that feels good. Where's a private place where you can touch those body parts? And there might be people sitting there going, Vanessa, how can you even possibly think of saying that to young children? That's our layers of stuff in our head. Our layer upon layer upon layer of stuff about sex and sexuality, our guilt, our shame, our worry, our fear, our danger. Our approach needs to be positive, joy, responsibility, honesty. We know that countries that speak like this all the time to children, they have better outcomes later on in life. So even though they're young now, you're starting their foundation for their intimate partnerships later on in life.
I love that. Start early, which is what we're aiming to do here. Education is key. And
that's right. Teachable moments are everywhere.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.